All right, howdy everybody. Thank y'all for coming out. Thank you for the in-person squad, and thank you for guys online. Welcome to the Breaking into the Gaming Industry Career Panel. So, whether you're dead set on getting into the gaming industry, or if you're, kind of looking for something new here, or if you're just here for fun, we hope this provides some value to you guys. So I guess next slide, please. We'll get started real soon here. First, I'll take you guys through the itinerary for today. So first, we'll start off with our introduction. I'll introduce you guys to our beautiful panelists here, and they'll tell you about their names, program they're from, and what they do. And then we'll move on to our panel discussion, which is our main event. We'll tackle on some general questions and some questions that you guys dropped down in the sign-up forms if you guys did that. But rest assured, if you guys didn't drop any questions down there, we will have an open QA where you guys could ask away. And after that, we'll have an open floor networking where you guys could enjoy some of the food that we brought. Pizza will be here at around 7, and we have drinks over there as well. Thank y'all, and I guess we'll get started. Alyssa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Alyssa. I'm between my 3B and 4A terms of science and business, and I'm currently working as a performance marketing analyst at Digital Extremes. And basically, I just work on Warframe and Soulframe. And outside of work, I also am the competitive manager for Warriors Esports, alongside some of my coworkers that are also here from Warriors Esports. So it's nice to be here.
Thank you, Alyssa. Okay, moving on. Dora, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Dora, and I'm currently in my 4A term My bad. I'm currently in my 4A term of computer science, and I guess my gaming industry experience is just working as a software engineer at Riot Games, where I got to work on some really cool NDA Valorant things. Yeah.
Thank you, Dora.
Yeah, Dora.
Let's go, Dora. Next slide, please.
Oh, it's me. Shit.
Steve.
Oh, I don't think that's fine. Hey guys, my name's Steve. Around here, a lot of people used to call me by Quatch. So if you might have known me before, I also go by Quatch. Currently, I work at ESL Faceit Group, which is basically a big gaming conglomerate. My current job is I work on global operations for PlayStation Esports. So the entire programming for all competitive esports on basically with Sony, that's my job. I also, if you're familiar, ESL Faceit also has background in several other games. They're responsible for the Apex Legends Global Series. They just bought out the Overwatch series as well. They run a lot of things for FGC. We also work with EVO, a lot of major events that are not basically owned by like Riot or Blizzard or any of the other IPs that are locked up. I also have background in content and in operations for a couple of the esports teams. So I've worked with both C9 and Liquid in the past, and then I believe, last year I also had the opportunity to work on the LCS stage in LA for LCS Game Changers as well. So I have experience in, I would say, different aspects in that front, and especially working with teams. So yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Give a hand for Quatch. Let's go. And Eric, please.
All right, I'm Eric. I am in my 3B of GBDA. Currently, I am a content production lead for Atriok, who is a Twitch streamer. I don't know if some of you guys know him. I also work for another Twitch streamer by the name of Simply. And outside of all my editing work, I am a student marketing director at Warriors Esports. So, yeah.
Give a round for all our panelists. All right, next slide, please. We'll get right into the questions. So we'll tackle the first one first. So for the first questions, how did you decide you wanted to work in the esports industry? Does anybody want to go first? I'll give you a little minute to think. Thank you.
I guess I can start with like some of my background. In Basically, I graduated high school in 2020, so during the pandemic, and I had literally nothing else to do. So what I did was I actually joined a startup tournament organization. Like a tournament organization like group, and it was called Proud Ontario Gamers. And from there, I kind of met a lot of our our older staff. Through it was called POG basically, and I met the previous president for Warriors Esports, and that's kind of how I got into esports. And I was kind of able to learn a lot of like tournament organization stuff on that side. And then the more I got into esports, the more I discovered that there was to do. There's a lot of like operational stuff that you never don't really hear about. It's not like front facing, but it's really interesting, and that's kind of what like drove me to pursue esports. But now after a little bit of instability in the esports industry, I've kind of gone more towards like game dev side, which is how I ended up at like Digital Extremes working on games instead of like in the esports industry, I guess.
So how did I get interested in the esports industry? So my background is kind of more gaming centric because I haven't really dipped fully into the esports industry, but I grew up a lot with games. I love competitive FPS games. Like I love Counter-Strike, I love Overwatch, I love Valorant. Those are my top 3 games. Initially, I wanted to be an esports player, but I fortunately didn't have the skills for that. So I decided to take a step back and maybe go for more of the background and sort of what are the stuff that happens behind the scenes in esports, relating to the marketing, the content creation and stuff like that. So I initially had my start with gaming editing specifically. So I love to edit like montages, videos, and stuff like that. And of course, during the pandemic, I took a gap year and I decided that I wanted to work for a Twitch streamer. So I invested a lot of time into video editing, and then I picked a Twitch streamer who I wanted to work for. And then I simply just flipped their video, I edited the video, and then I sent it over to them. And all of a sudden, I started working for Twitch streamers. And then I built up my rep like that. And then I started getting noticed by other Twitch streamers and getting a bunch of other video editing projects. So that's sort of my intro into gaming. And then once I finally landed into Waterloo for university, I noticed that Waterloo had an esports sort of club and stuff like that. I applied to the videographer position. Funny enough, Steve over here actually interviewed me, and he decided to take me onto the team. And then after that, after a bunch of years in the Warriors Esports program, I sort of climbed my way to becoming the marketing director. And here we are launching a bunch of cool new events and cool new projects throughout the term. So yeah.
So, for background, I was accounting and finance, which is AFM. I hate accounting and finance. So basically, after working like all my co-ops in like accounting, I just kind of had like an inception point where I was like, I really kind of don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I kind of have like that same idea where the only thing that I would be willing to put work into was esports, so I decided to double down. And by chance, I already put in a lot of time. Like for context, I was already running UW Esports from like 2017 to 2020 up until then. So I decided to just kind of go for it and push even more and invest all my time. I basically sacked school in order to invest even more and just work in esports and just work to get more opportunities that way. I think figuring out what you like is important because even though the space is like, yeah, esports, there's a lot of ways to like apply yourself in different backgrounds because like, let's say Alyssa has like a very, let's say, data focused background and like in different roles in that case, and Eric's very content heavy, right? So you kind of, I think understanding what you like within esports itself is important to distinguish because like a lot of people just want to start and they're like, yeah, I like esports, but then like there's like certain things you actually hate. You like esports, but you don't like editing. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, like there's things like that, or like you can be an engineer and still work in esports, or maybe you really like competitive stuff, or maybe you actually hate competitive stuff. I've seen people go for both angles, and I think that's really important to distinguish.
I think for me, I kind of had like a similar thing to Alyssa, where like during the pandemic, that was when I was in like grade 12 of high school, and like all I did every day was basically just wake up, play games, go to sleep. And so I think I like kind of like really developed my love for gaming then, just because like it kind of allowed me to connect to all my friends because like everyone was just online and everything, and I also met a lot of cool people like Alyssa online. And like I think from then I kind of like had this thing where I really wanted to work on one of these games because I think it would just be cool to kind of see how everything works behind the scenes, and then also like kind of make something that the community would enjoy or maybe hate, but that's okay. Just like kind of like get my own work into the games. And I think like after working at Riot last summer, like I kind of like felt like there was a lot more than what I just initially expected in terms of like the work and everything. And I guess like there's kind of like a stigma around like gaming versus like traditional tech, or at least like within a lot of my friend groups. And like it's kind of just like, oh, like gaming isn't as good as like working at like a traditional tech company. But I kind of found that that wasn't the case, and found that there was still a lot of interesting challenges and everything within the gaming industry, and like I thought that was kind of cool.
All right, thank you guys for all your responses. On to the next one. So, advice on how to break into gaming. Maybe even tips for anyone trying to get a co-op at a gaming company, and maybe even any opportunities to explore and practice this field in Waterloo. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll swap this one. All right. So yeah, funny enough, I actually haven't did co-op yet, because for GBDA it's actually in the spring term. I'm going into co-op, but I can speak a little bit more about like sort of getting ready for applying for co-ops. Probably my one biggest thing is probably pursue your passion projects, pursue any sort of ideas or any sort of opportunities that kind of present to yourself. Because what's really attractive is seeing like you sort of pursue an idea that is outside of a working environment, outside of a school environment. For example, like I really tried to build up my video editing projects strictly from like the content that I made personally. And just seeing like sort of you create those ideas and make it come to life without any sort of like responsibility or any sort of working formalities is I would say a pretty attractive thing to see by an employer.
Okay, I guess next. Yeah, for me, I actually found my current job on Waterloo Works. So like there's actually some really cool job postings on Waterloo Works. I know Digital Extremes posts every term. And I think previously I did work at like external companies. I worked in esports education for a little bit, which was really interesting. I got to see like another perspective of esports. I think it really is about like just meeting people within the gaming industry and within esports and just talking to them and being excited about what you're doing. Because I think for me, I started by just literally doing volunteer work, and then I just met people that I worked with, and I guess they felt that I was really interested in what I was doing, so they basically referred me to a couple of people, and that's how I actually found my first job. So I think it's really just talking to people and just getting to know kind of the space and what you want to do, and just really actually enjoying and being really invested in what you're doing. I guess that's how you kind of communicate to people that this is what you want to do, and they will more often than not, hopefully, present you with opportunities that all you have to do is really express interest and take them, and just, you know, put yourself out there like that.
Thank you. Yeah, networking is definitely very important. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a bit about like just showing your interest in like esports or gaming. I think like that definitely goes a long way, like whether that's through like side projects. So like if you're looking for something like software engineering related, like working on a project related to one of their, like for example Riot's games, could be really helpful. And I know that's helped a lot of my intern friends like get through their interviews and kind of like really express their passion about like why they want to work at Riot or like any other given company. And then I think like I feel like just like genuinely showing your interest. Like I know for Riot's intern applications, there was like a section where we had to write about why we wanted to work at Riot, and like I just kind of went really in depth into like, I don't know, like I think I just wrote a lot about fangirling over a lot of the champions and art and things like that, and that was fine. And then in like my call with the recruiter, like the whole thing was very like friendly, just fangirling over LCS players. So yeah, I'd say like just be nerdy. It's okay to be nerdy.
Quash, do you have any?
Here's the funny thing. I don't have a single co-op in esports. So yeah, this is like, I guess I have the wild card angle, because one, I'm old. so I didn't get the chance to get any co-ops in gaming or anything like that. All my co-ops are accounting. And two, I think you can still, I guess you could provide that perspective, because I think even if you don't get that chance, because just chances are that's not going to happen, to be honest with you. It's very likely. It's very possible. And even if that happens, I think I would say that it's very possible for you to apply yourself and still like just do cool shit, do what you want to like. It's really cool about the space for you, and you'll probably just build your portfolio of work and just still find a way to get noticed, right? Because I think while I didn't get any internships, I still managed to get opportunities while I was in school. Like a lot of my opportunities I was doing while I was still a student, and even like I was probably getting the most opportunities while I was doing my master's, to be honest with you. And like, although it's really painful and it's not what you would expect and not normal, but like, I'd say as long as you put in the work, it will probably like pay itself back in the end. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. And in terms of applying yourself at Waterloo, there's actually like a decent amount of opportunities considering how small of a city it is, low-key. Like I've on my way out, like the city was trying to invest a lot more into becoming like sort of like esports hub. But you know what I mean, like they're putting a lot of effort into trying to make it like more forward focused for esports as well. Like I would say the collegiate scene here is one of the most developed in the country, if not the most. There's also several small game dev companies here. The most notable one was Odyssey Interactive, if you're familiar. They were responsible for Mega Strikers last year, and they're just down the street. They're beside Life Society. So like, there's a lot of different ways to just kind of find your way into the space, even if it's not co-op.
Thank you for the very wise words, guys. Next slide, please. All right, moving on to the next few questions. Did you guys experience any learning curves in co-op that were related to gaming? Also, tell us some interesting projects you've gone to work on during your co-ops. And maybe Dora, you could touch on some of those side projects that you suggested your friends to doing.
Yeah. I guess like in terms of like co-op versus things you learn in school, for like speaking from a CS standpoint, like I feel like a lot of things aren't actually that useful, except for like maybe a few courses like I don't know, like data structures, algorithms, operating systems, graphics, and networks maybe, but like not all of those are like applicable to like your day-to-day things. So I feel like a lot of like my learning experience was just from like previous co-ops in like software engineering environments, I guess. And like even then, like I like asked Riot to specifically throw me into like a gameplay engineering team because I wanted to learn game dev, and like I had like no experience coming in, but even then I found it was okay just like by like I don't know, like using resources at work, like asking my mentor questions, looking through like the code base and like any documentation that was there, just because there was like a lot of things to learn with like Unreal game engine stuff that I'd never touched before. And then I guess like in terms of cool projects I got to do at work, there's a lot of stuff that I can't talk about because it's under NDA, but there are like some fun side projects that I had fun with that I think we might be able to show. Yeah, this was like mostly just like passion projects that I did on my own time after work, because I was bored. And like it was also a really good way to like learn the code base, I guess.
Healing you. For you. For you.
Yeah, this is
Healing you.
I was a game designer.
One enemy remaining.
For
you.
I'm not a game designer, evidently.
Last player standing.
Like Iron and Valorant.
Healing
It's really good to work on the game as well, like you're not a designer.
That's a small judge buff, as you can see pictured. Very small judge buff.
Some stuff with I guess like kind of help them be able to modify weapons more easily for future changes that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Anybody else have any inputs?
I didn't do co-op, but I can talk about my projects. So I guess what is it? Is it I guess later projects, right? I feel like some interesting stuff is like I would say I'll probably talk about last year because I had to when LCS Game Changers happened. Are we actually able to pull that up the VOD or no? No, it's fine. So basically we got the full shebang in terms of like esports training arc. One example is that you might get the chance to actually go out and like experience what some of these teams do. So for us, we got to work with players, and they actually gave us 1 day within the Liquid facility, and they also gave us the full understanding of the process of how players train and prepare for stage. We were on the LCS stage. We ran through media kits. So I think that would be an interesting opportunity. Also, other things would be able to be working with prominent figures within the scene. So esports is actually a lot smaller than you think, and a lot of like, let's say like I worked with professional LCS coaches while planning our to random clips. So for example, one of my jobs was actually a Wild Rift activation, and I ended up having to use League players in order to react to these Wild Rift clips in order to compare. So I was telling Fudge, if for those of you who know him, he just comes in really dead. And I guess we'll switch back to this then, I guess, because we have that clip on stream here. So this is us on stage. These are my Game Changers players. I was working with. Yeah, so basically for context, Game Changers is the diversity activation from Riot, basically focus on women and marginalized genders, and that's basically what this is here. And they had a bunch of teams here. They got the full experience, and this is us on stage during draft and everything like that. So it's very proper. It's pretty cool in person, but what's funny is how small the Riot stage is. Actually, it's actually like a shack in terms of how small it is. It's a little bit funny. So yeah. These things can happen. Like these opportunities can come up when you get a chance, and just like you actually never know what could happen. So, just wanted to chime in on that.
Thank you, Quach. You guys have anything?
I could probably switch the mic. Yeah. I could probably talk about some interesting projects. Again, I haven't really dipped into co-op yet, but yeah, interesting projects. Probably a lot of my stuff is of course video editing based because that's like the core of my experience. One thing for Wars Esports actually is that we had a collab with Waterloo Undergrad Recruitment, and we made a Twitch advertisement to be posted, basically to recruit students to come to Waterloo because we love esports and we love gaming, we love all that. It featured Anna, who's over there behind the scenes. Anna was the star of the Twitch ad, and yeah, that was basically just a cool thing to basically have like a piece of content being shipped out there as an advertisement. On terms of like my video editing and freelance, I do a bunch of cool projects, a bunch of like time-consuming projects. I don't know if I can really pull on some, but it is really nice to see that seeing like a creator interact with other creators. For example, like HRock interacts a lot with Ludwig, so being able to like edit content relating to Ludwig, and also seeing the content being posted out, you know, getting a bunch of views, and then seeing all the comments is nice stuff like that. I think that's just probably like a big part of why I love the video edit and why like I can continue making these cool projects and stuff. But yeah.
I guess like one experience that really touched me throughout my co-op experience was at my first job. I was working in educational esports, and basically what that means is it's more like less esports. It's esports titles, but more so games-based learning. So this was in 2021 when students were still in online school, of course. So I was working with a lot of teachers to implement video games into their classes, which the students loved. And I think that's just something that I carried with me, just like these like little kids, they love Fortnite, right? So you would build them this like island in Fortnite Creative, and they like loved it. Like they would talk about history or whatever, and they get so into it. And I think that was something that I really enjoyed, like just seeing the effects that like games have on kids, especially throughout their like educational experience. Like, you know, I wish I could have like played Fortnite for history class, but yeah, I think that was just something cool that I worked on with teachers. It was more in Manitoba for whatever reason. They really love gaming over there, so yeah.
Nice, thank you. I guess we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so what do you like about working in gaming? Any dislikes do you have? And let's also talk about biases in gaming, or I guess just tech in general. Anybody have any thoughts about this?
I can talk a little bit about working in gaming and probably any dislikes. Yeah, so I think working in gaming, of course, is pretty purely driven by passion. Of course, you love gaming, so you want to be like sort of like surrounded around it. Yeah, it's just really nice to be able to like actually work on something you enjoy, like on your pastime, both inside and outside of work, and not, you're not working at like an office or doing work, for like a company that you don't really align with and stuff like that. So it's just like amazing to be able to work within something that you love outside of work. Dislikes. I don't know if I've any specific dislikes. Maybe specifically AI. Sure, I dislike AI to an extent.
Yeah, I guess I think like one of the things that like really stood out to me about working at Riot versus like my other generic tech co-ops would probably be like how much better I felt connected to everyone else, just because like we would be able to talk about like a lot of games things in general and like just be able to bond over that, like regardless of how old they were. Like rather than like working in traditional tech, I didn't know what to like say to my manager when they would tell me they had to drop their kid off at daycare. I'm like, cool, can't relate, but cool. But like I don't know, like with working at Riot, it felt a lot different, and like a lot of the times like my coworkers would like take days off to like play a game on release, and I thought that was like really cool. That was like a really cool thing to do. And then also I think another part about working in games that I really enjoyed was like just like the diversity of the space, like, and how much different crafts get put into like making a game. Like for example, I got to talk with like a lot of artists, sound designers, like game designers and everything, and I thought that was really cool. I think one of like the coolest experiences I probably had was sitting in on an external playtest, which is basically like when researchers from Riot get external players to playtest our games. And I thought like just being able to sit in on that experience and listen to what people who, for example, played Valorant for the first time had to say about it. And I think like that whole thing was just like really interesting, and especially like with like the knowledge of where like game designers want the game to go and like what these players are saying, like that was kind of interesting to hear about, and also just to like, I don't know, like hear everything from a player's standpoint, I guess.
I feel like in gaming, you can do some pretty like funny stuff. How would I say it? The vibes are kind of funny sometimes. So like for example, a lot of the times like in a normal job interview, you're like hella stressed, right? I go into this like job interview with EG. It's like interview 6 out of 7 or something, right? Bro pulls in like 10 minutes late. He's like, "No, did you see the new TFT patch?" And then we just start talking about TFT for the first 10 minutes of a 20-minute interview. And I was like, I mean, all right, I guess this is how I get the job, right? But I mean, like that, like there's really weird things like that just don't make sense. And like, but that's the fun part about it, to be honest with you. And like there's like other really weird things that you end up doing that like makes it kind of a vibe, right? And it's just really funny. Like for example, just at work, the Super Bowl just happened over the weekend, right? For work, I actually sent a kid there because before the Super Bowl, there's actually the EA Sports Bowl. I don't think many people know about that, but we sent some random gamer there in the middle of the giant like 50K person dome, and he's just playing like Madden, and he's just chilling there. Like it's really weird, right? I would say in terms of dislike, it's like a classic thing when you work in like a passion field. You kind of like when you what you do is like games. To be honest, is kind of weird. For example, with me when I want to reset because I'm like, but I like playing games though. So, but then I can't do that because I actually burn out like hella hard. So it kind of gets really weird in order, with that. Also, sometimes I love gamers, but also sometimes working with gamers can be quite a struggle, especially like I get a lot of complaints from players, and half the time I get like client requests is because someone like bashed them on Twitter. Like they just brought it there, and like that's not always the best look, and honestly. And then usually like I'm working with like pretty large contracts, so it's a little bit stressful at times. But I mean, it's all fun and games, right? So
The duality of gaming for you. All right, next question. When didn't you have any experience, and what did you do to help land interviews? And also, any clubs or projects or volunteering experience you recommend doing to build experience to maybe help breaking to this industry?
I guess I can start. Well, obviously, I think, like the three of us on the panel, like got our start, I think, in Waterloo Esports. So, I think that's like definitely something that you can look into is like school communities, and there's like, for example, a lot of games-based communities at Waterloo. Like even any like passion that you have, like for example, I know there's clubs for like OSU, for fighting games, for uh, Tetris, there's Beat Saber, there's a lot of things at Waterloo. There's a lot of different people that enjoy different things. I think honestly just going into a club or like a community that you're interested in would help you to kind of get integrated into the community because people know people. And I think that's definitely something that you can start with. You can start small. You can just talk to people, get involved with like events. For example, at Warriors Esports now, we put out like job postings somewhat often. Not sure like the exact schedule, but we always have a lot of people that are interested, and we love to kind of meet you at events. And I think that's like definitely a good way to get integrated into like gaming communities just on campus. And also there's like the game dev club. There's a lot of game jams at Waterloo if you're interested in like the dev side of things. And I think that's like definitely something that I did that kind of helped me to end up where I am now. So yeah.
I feel like I had like a very tech background before getting into the games industry, so this might be from like a different standpoint, but honestly, like I'd say just like apply to like game dev jobs if you're interested in them. And typically like game companies don't care that much about like whether you have like really formal game dev experience or anything like that. As long as you have like a strong tech background, they're willing to teach strong engineers. So that's that, I guess. And then I guess like if you did want to get more into games, I'd say like hackathons or game jams are probably a good start, as well as just like online resources like tutorials for like Unity or Unreal or anything like that are pretty widely available, I think. So yeah. And then I think like Waterloo has like one game design course, I think, but I don't know if you can actually take it here, but I took it on exchange and got like a exchange credit for it. But like if that's something that's available to you, or maybe if you can just audit the course or anything like that, I think like learning about game design was also pretty interesting. It teaches you a lot about like the psychology behind the games and everything like that, and why games are fun to play and things like that. So would highly recommend.
I can't code, so I have a different angle. So for context, I actually did it for free for way too long, to be honest with you. I ran UW Esports from 2017 up until I left in 2022. So that's quite a long ass time. I'm not gonna lie, I should have left. But like, I digress. Clubs is a great example of how do you apply yourself, because you got a lot of experience in like basically a lot of different fronts within esports. For me, since I was basically doing everything back then, since esports was like super Mickey Mouse in like 2017, so I was running all the events, marketing, everything. So that's like a very like wide net of experience. Other than that, you can kind of just try to like apply yourself in areas you want to work for free, and just I'd also leverage social media a lot if you can. So starting like a brand there. So that it's not necessarily just because you want to be like an influencer, but more so just as like a portfolio of work. So so just like as an example, if you want to be an editor, you could do like some sick clips on TikTok or something like that, or you can mention things and show your example, because I've seen people make it all the way to the top and get literal jobs just making TikToks. Other examples is if you are more into the competitive space and all you know is like jungle pathing or lineups and things like that, like you can just post videos of that online or analysis. I've seen people actually make it off of that and get potential job interviews for professional teams because of that. I've also, from personal experience, I've also gotten interviews for coaching positions because of that as well. So people just want to see you think. And esports is not like an industry where you like need a degree, because it's, to be honest, kind of useless. It's more so just like, oh, if you want to do something cool, you got to prove it to us first, and like kind of like a value focus, right? You gotta like put it out there for free, show that you actually care and you want to do it, give it to them, and then maybe they'll respond in kind. It's actually super small industry, so I wouldn't be too pressed if like you feel like it's hard to get started.
I agree. Making games too. I think making games is good. Wait, what's that one game with like the astronauts that one guy made that's got really popular? I just thought of it, and okay. No. It's like
What are you cooking?
it's on Steam. Lethal Company. It was on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, it was made by one person, and he made a lot of money because of it. So just yes, he started as a Roblox dev. His Twitter is very popular. It was a very interesting read. So just be bold, put it out there, and just make things, build things that you like. Yeah, that was my little thoughts. Anyways, I guess next question. Do you have any tips for early year students who are interested in getting involved in the gaming industry? So I guess someone with really nothing on their resume or something very simple. What do you guys have to suggest for them to build?
I guess like just adding on to things from the previous question, but like I'd say like don't be afraid to apply, like even if you're in first year to Riot, like I think that's fine. And especially because like I've talked to the recruiters about it because I've applied multiple times myself, and like they say that they do like see who's applied multiple times, and that does like factor into the decision and like really shows your passion for like working somewhere. So I'd say do that. And then I also kind of wanted to add on about like networking and everything. I think that like is like really helpful just because like people know people and like they can help you get places, which is really good. And I don't know, like I think for me, I also like reached out to a lot of rioters on Twitter, just being really genuine and open about like what it's like working there and like trying to figure out if that was something I'd enjoy. My only tip for you on Twitter is just don't ask them for a gun buddy, like, and like that's the best way to be genuine.
I guess I can elaborate on my previous point, because it's kind of the same thing. Like I think people really don't mind if you're new. Like I've seen some applications. This is for like from a coaching perspective. They look for people specifically with no brand. That's how I've gotten interviews before. They're like, you have to be like a random, and then they'll like look for people that have a blank slate, because like a lot of the time they just pick from the same pool of people and they want to see someone fresh. So it's actually okay that if you're just getting started, as long as you can start strong, and then like you know what you're looking for and you know what you're looking to do. So I wouldn't be too pressed about that.
If you're interested in getting started in like esports and gaming, as everyone mentioned, it is a small community. So if you do decide to go the social media route, you should be careful of what you post online, because I have seen people lose jobs over like hot takes online. So you should be careful about what you're posting and make sure that what you post online is always 100% your brand, because in general, the space is very small, so one small thing could come back to haunt you, just as like a general warning. I think you guys could also speak on that.
You will get canceled.
Or stay anon on Twitter.
What? Oh, just
Yes,
don't be on Twitter?
No, stay anon.
Oh, anon. Okay, gotcha.
I can speak a little bit. Mainly what Quach said before is just find your niche, like find out what you're interested in, whether it be like marketing or social media. Just find what really drives your passion and kind of go with it. And kind of have a backup plan, because again, the gaming industry is rapidly growing, but it's also very variant. So things could go south, things can flop. So just sort of have a backup and make sure you can apply yourself whenever you can.
All right, next slide, please. All right, open Q&A. That's it for our general discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Does anybody have any other additional questions for our panelists? Yep.
My question is related to Dora. So, I guess like a similar situation to you, where I also have like I'm in my second com right now, by the way. I'm doing full stack config, but gaming is something I've always been interested in. I want to grow in Valorant. in India it's like not that good. So here I haven't worked with. But yeah, I guess my initial question was like, how do you pivot from like traditional roles to like something like game dev? I know you've already like talked about it a little bit, but like, is there anything specific? Because like you talked about Riot, right, and how they don't care about the fact that you had like full stack and front end roles before. But like, what about other companies? Like, do they care about your previous experience in game dev, and like, how should I look to pivot into that kind of space?
I'll just repeat the questions for the folks online. The question is, how would you pivot into a traditional tech role into game dev, right? Yeah.
I feel like I can't speak that well for like the other gaming companies out there, but I think like it always helps to just like try to apply to more game dev jobs, I guess, like as you get into later co-ops and things like that. I think there are like a lot of other companies on Waterloo Works, if I can recall correctly. I don't know. I quit co-op, so there's that. But I'd say like specific skills that they're looking for might be like more team dependent. Like for example, I know Riot has like software engineering positions open on like all of their games, but also like more game agnostic things like accounts and things like that, which are like pretty vastly standard across like the tech industry, I'd say. But if you're looking to pivot into like really hands-on like game dev stuff, probably the best way to like make your resume stand out would be to I guess like do some game jams or like projects with like those specific engines, I guess. Or I guess like depending on like what game you want to work on, like Valorant uses Unreal, I think Lore uses Unity, and then TFT and League are on their own proprietary engine. But yeah, I think like C++ definitely comes in handy. That would be like my number one tip, is like hone your C++ skills.
I think I can also just like talk on this real quick. So I work at a smaller company. I think DE has like around 500 something employees. So it's quite small. So the teams are quite small. So you can actually find success just by writing a cover letter, but that shows that you're genuinely interested in the company and like in the position or whatever. Because when I first got my job here, I've done 2 co-op terms here now. I wrote a cover letter basically talking about like I was really interested in game dev because I'd never worked like in a game studio before. That I was really interested in the game dev side, and that like I was really interested in DE because of their history. I was like, oh, I watched like your documentary about like Epic and how you made Unreal Tournament. I was like, I was talking about how much I like research this company because it's a small team, right? So they generally read like every application. So I think just showing like enthusiasm in the company and like the product that you really want to work on is also super big, because they can teach you like skills and stuff, but they can't teach you passion, which I think is really important to remember for these types of studios that are smaller and like fueled on people who are passionate about the product that they work on.
Thank you. Do we have any other more questions? Yeah.
Is the question the effect of AI on gaming versus other parts of software? Okay.
The current I don't think AI is too related to the current layoff session. I think it's more the economic climate rather than AI, because the layoffs have been kind of happening like in waves even before, like, or not before, but like even from the start, like when AI wasn't that great, I guess, like layoffs were already starting to occur. I think it's just like a lot of investors and a lot of companies really expanded really quickly during COVID when everyone was like at home gaming. And then they realized now that everyone is kind of like back to normal life, they expanded a little too fast. So now they're doing a bit more layoffs than hiring, from my understanding of the situation.
Something about Power World. Yeah, but maybe like I could see it. I wouldn't say like it would impact it. For, at least from my angle, I don't see it impacting it more than like other areas in tech, because those areas are kind of important too and probably more useful in esports in terms of our human race. So I'm not too sure, but I would say it could probably increase the potential for what we can do and just and create more possibilities, because like going back to Power World, they had a really small team and no money, but with the power of AI, they topped the Steam charts anyway. So like, you know, you can do more with less, I would say. And but that's not like anything special towards gaming versus just other areas of tech, I would say. Nothing to distinguish, in my opinion. Thanks for the question.
Does anybody have any other questions? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can probably explain a little bit about my route. Oh yeah, sorry. So the question is basically like working with HROC, like how did I sort of get that opportunity? So yeah, so just to really briefly explain about like how I got into it. When COVID hit, I essentially had a year to myself. Editing was actually not on my landscape. I actually just wanted to pursue marketing. I didn't think editing was sort of a profitable job. I didn't think I would get anywhere. So I devoted a whole year to basically learn how to video edit. I picked up, like, upgraded my software. I worked a part-time job to upgrade my computer and stuff like that. And I just went to work. I watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials, and I made a list of Twitch streamers that I wanted to edit for. The first one being Simply, who is a sort of a speedrunner, a Super Mario 64 speedrunner that I enjoyed his content a lot. And yeah, I started working with Simply for, I'd say, about a year, just editing a bunch of different videos. Some of them did really well, some of them did pretty badly. But there was one specific video that sort of, like I said, the creators sort of had a collab where Simply was sort of racing H-Rock in a Super Mario 64 video. And H-Rock saw that video, he saw the editing, and he went straight to my Twitter DMs, and that's sort of how it established. It was the coolest thing ever to see that creator like jump into my DMs, especially for the fact that, to admit, I actually didn't watch H-Rock at all. Like, I had no interest in his content. And it's crazy to go from that to eventually working on his team, and now I'm working for him for a year, and now he is formally hiring me as a co-op person. So yeah, it's sort of just like building up your portfolio and sort of reaching for edits and hoping that, you know, the creator you work for sort of collabs with other creators and then getting your name out there. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Never stop the grind and always invest in yourself. Does anybody else have any more questions?
With esports and gaming being an unstable industry, and with seeing massive layoffs and kind of like the change in the landscape, how do you guys navigate through the, I guess, the unstableness of the industry, especially with the lack of entry-level jobs right now?
All right, so the question is, amidst all the chaos and all the layoffs going on and the instability of the gaming industry, wait, what was the second part? Yeah, how would you guys navigate through this nasty climate?
I mean, yeah, probably the big thing is because when I was in sort of my co-op application, or I guess I'm still currently in my co-op application, I really wanted to work in esports, but I knew that was just not an option because it's just too variable right now. I think the big thing is just diversifying yourself, you know, finding a backup plan, maybe waiting for that opportunity. But while behind the scenes, if you are, for example, you're really interested in esports social media, you know, and you're going to work for a social media company like sort of outside of esports, sort of racking up your portfolio there and kind of building up for the opportunity to present itself. But yeah, again, like, you can't really bet too hard on it, and you need to make sure that you have a backup plan, especially with all the changes with, like you said, AI and stuff like that. You know, I'm always at risk of losing my job with AI, but it's just a matter of like standing out and being your own sort of like person amidst all the changes in the esports industry.
Does anybody else have anything else to add? Or
I guess like just like getting whatever experiences that you can won't hurt you in the long run, I guess. And like while esports might not be like a stable thing now, like if you have the experience and it's something that you can still pursue in the future, I think it's still helpful to get whatever experience that's out there that you can grab. And like, I guess my plans, pray that I get a return offer full time.
I feel like that's me too, just like praying for a return offer. But I feel like for specifically how I wanted my career path to go, I was like, okay, well, I need to do something that can be applied to multiple industries. So I work as a data analyst, and you need a data analyst in like every industry. So I also worked like a more corporate job. Like I worked at Loblaw, which is obviously not gaming, for like one co-op term, and I kind of hate corporate environments. But yeah, I learned that. But I think it's still important to kind of get that experience. Outside of the gaming sphere, I guess. And I think that's like also just in general, like future proofing yourself is just getting kind of like those core skills that you need to survive in like any industry.
Quatch, do you have anything or?
I can cook. Question was, economy bad. What do? You could stall out and wait for it to get better, because I do think it will probably get better eventually. Right, this is a classic economic thing. You could also just like charge up in the meantime, I guess, because like I literally went through that because I graduated when COVID hit, and you bet your ass I got no job. So basically, that's why my version of that was, that's why I ended up getting my master's degree. So I gave myself a year to stall. For context, it's the MBET program. They're upstairs, actually, one floor. And basically, that program actually allowed me to tailor my master's to specifically esports. I put it in my application, and they gave me a lot of skills relevant to the esports industry, because it's effectively a startup industry, right? It's a startup in tech. And I got a lot of understanding as to what these companies want and what they need, right? Because it's essentially the same thing. And building up skills that are relevant but parallel to what you need to do is going to probably be the way. And then you can kind of just like keep playing it by ear and taking opportunities you can. Because when I was still waiting, I still worked a bunch of like part-time remote jobs, even though we couldn't go outside and stuff. And these were all in esports as well, and just working on like personal content or things like that. So there's like, you can find a way, I would say, but it is harder than like right now than I would say ever before.
I'm just gonna touch a bit upon that. So yeah, I want to at least shine a bit of hope and say that the gaming industry is like a pretty big and growing industry. It's almost set to take over the entertainment industry, and you see movie companies making movies like the Super Mario Bros. Movie and the Breath of the Wild movies about to come out and stuff like that. Like the gaming industry is taking over, and it's going to become like the biggest form of entertainment. So you definitely should wait on it and wait for that opportunity to strike. But just don't believe that like it's not going to ever happen or it's never going to pop up. So yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions?
What's up? So the question is my transition from accounting, right, into if you are a fellow accountant like me, trust me, you will hate accounting enough that you will be inspired to do it. So, but in order to transition, I kind of just like personally, I took the accounting skills as kind of just like a generic skill set. I don't think it was completely useless in order to have like all the accounting co-ops and all the accounting courses. It wasn't the most useful, but I actually am working with spreadsheets right now and like budgeting, unfortunately. But being able to kind of just see, I have a very generalist skill set in that sense. So all my skills are like related to business and operations and like all understanding how what teams want and how to achieve success. Nothing technically technical, but things that teams would want or like companies would want. And like I said, a lot of these skills are applicable in other areas. Like, yes, I work at ESL Face It. It's a gaming company, but I'm also very much a project manager. I'm like a business guy, right? I still work. I have Slack. I have to open it. I have Google Sheets. Like, I have to go to these meetings too, right? Like, it's the same thing. It's just not boring accounting stuff. It's like cool gaming stuff, but still like kind of accounting. But like, it's all good. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you can find ways to use your unique experiences and then kind of like twist it so that you can bring value to these people, and then you can fill the gap with like, I guess, your interests and things like that. So I guess using that and then taking your opportunities, and then you can slowly make that transition. It wasn't 100%, but slowly as I got like, by my like third job in esports, it was totally cooked. I was not doing accounting anymore. It was like way easier to transition at that point. So it takes a bit of time, but once the snowball gets going, it's like super chill. Thanks for the question.
Does anybody else have any more queries? Yep.
It's okay. So the question was about like whether companies care about if you apply multiple times over the years. Yeah, so that was like with the Riot recruiters. I don't know how well that might apply to other gaming companies, but I would say that that's like also kind of a thing at like big tech companies, or like maybe like the smaller side of big tech companies, because like the actual big tech companies have too many recruiters to notice. But yeah, that is something that happens, and they do read those paragraphs about why you want to work at Riot and like why you're pursuing whatever your major is. I think that was the other question that I got asked. They do read those in depth, and then like typically during the interview, you'll probably be reiterating a lot of that stuff. So write something that really demonstrates your passion and enthusiasm in there.
Anybody else?
I have a question from the Twitch chat. How do you make esports sustainable for you, like in terms of health and grind culture?
All right.
Work-life balance.
I guess I'll repeat the question. How do you make esports a sustainable career in your life?
Work-life balance.
Yeah, work-life balance.
I'll go first. Okay. Yeah. So, my work life is sort of unstructured in a sense, considering that well, as a video editor, I work by project basis. So, I could go like 2 weeks without projects. I can go back to projects. I can just like it's just an overload. Work-life balance, I would say, is probably the most essential thing working in this industry, because there are some people out there who are in this industry who like pull all-nighters and they don't care about their health, and also they develop a lot of health issues considering to their mental health, of course, or physical issues like carpal tunnel. You know, that's something I'm kind of creeping on right now, staying at a computer for 8 hours a day. It's important to like, sort of emphasize all the sort of things you can do to sort of improve your health, whether it's going to the gym or going for a walk or meditation and stuff like that. I think if you're going to commit to this lifestyle of working in the gaming industry where sort of hours are unregulated and unstructured, you need to make sure you also devote a lot of time into finding ways so you can maintain your lifestyle with eating good, going to the gym, and of course, checking on your mental health every once in a while.
It's funny because the problem kind of changes as I got more experienced. So when I started, I was like, shit, I don't have a job. I got to really go for it, guys. So that was like, I was really on the grind. Some of my friends would know this. Like, so while I was doing my master's, I actually had 3 esports gigs all at once. So I was probably working 50 hours a week in esports while pursuing my master's. I'm not doing that again. Hell no. Like that, you don't catch me doing that. But now that like, as you further and further get into the industry, it's interesting how the problem changes, because now, like I mentioned before, it's like, how do I take a break? I can't really just play games, right? Because like I do games for my job, right? And I could talk about it for my job. So ironically, you get your fix while working, or at least for me. And then imagine touching grass on your break. It's kind of crazy. Like I actually do that now. It's a little bit weird, but it's like kind of convenient in that sense. So you kind of like get that balance. And like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm old, but like as I get older, you kind of like get perspective on like esports is hella cool and everything, but like job's a job, and like life is still like, there's still like a lot of things you want to do and want to try. Like there's a lot of cool shit out there. And like, although you're going to hit a point where, although it's cool, you're going to realize it's just like the industry you work in, it's just like things you do, but it's not everything, right? And it's cool, but it's not everything. So I think you're gonna learn that distinction eventually, and I think it's important to have that.
Anybody else want to touch on that, or?
Maybe I'll touch a bit. One thing I would really emphasize on is make sure you sort of have an organizer on terms of like how you sort of tackle your work. You know, being a student and trying to juggle a job is really hard. Being a student and trying to juggle projects on top of schoolwork deadlines is insane. So, and also sort of devoting time to putting it towards your passion, you know, learning how to code, learning how to video edit, learning how to do all that stuff it's important you sort of schedule your time wisely and make sure that you don't burn out your passion. Make sure you don't burn out as a person. So yeah, just make sure you have a structure to your lifestyle and stuff like that.
Thank you. Any more questions? No more questions? All right. I guess please give a round of applause to our lovely panelists. Thank y'all for coming out here. I guess we could move on to the open networking. You guys could help yourself to the pizza and the drinks over there and get networking.